Okay everyone, thank you for joining me in this presentation. This was from 2014. The unfortunate thing is no one had a video camera to videotape it at the time. And anyway, I had a video camera, but I didn't think I had enough memory or whatnot, and someone took pictures, but they never got me. I emailed the person like 20 times and they never gave me pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and put this presentation. This is from 2014. I presented this at Veggie Fest. So here's the title of my presentation: Pure Plant Power, My Training, Diet, and Vegan Research. Okay, so a little bit of background. I have 2 degrees from the University of New Orleans. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in exercise physiology. I've published in peer-reviewed journals. The first one is the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy, and the next one is the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. I'm an ACSM certified exercise physiologist. In other words, I practice as a personal trainer. ACSM, that stands for American College of Sports Medicine. I've published nationally with various magazines. The first one is On Fitness, and the next is Vegan Health and Fitness magazine. Athletically, I'm a professional natural bodybuilder and physique athlete with the National Gym Association, and I'm also a triathlete with the United States of America Triathlon Association. Alright, so I put meathead in parentheses because being that as I am 100% plant-based, I guess you can refer to me as a plant head. My training. It is daily, 6 to 7 days a week. My main mode of training is, and let me just go ahead and preface that with a question: what's the most important muscle in the body? I'll give you a second to think about that. Resistance training is overplayed. Aerobic training has been shown to induce more fat loss than resistance training. There's a study. I'll go ahead and link that at the bottom of this video, all of those citations, so you can see it for yourself. The main way, my main mode of training has always been, or not always been, but for the most part, and it's currently and will be for a long time, is concurrent training. Concurrent training is doing both aerobic and resistance training. There was a study, a groundbreaking study that kind of slipped between the cracks in terms of the research studies. Now, numerically quantified, this study found you're reading that correctly, a 991.8% greater fat loss between serial versus integrated training. Now, serial and integrated training are both concurrent modes of training. Serial is your standard, do weights first and cardio second. Integrated is doing cardio acceleration sets within the weight training workout. So let's say you do a set of bench press. All right, then you go over to the fan bike and you hit a 30-second sprint, really intense. Then you go back and do another set of bench press. So it's kind of like CrossFit, but it doesn't have the CrossFit caveats of the high impact and you know, extreme range of motion and potential, you know, issues with that. So that's my main mode of training. The consensus data, the body composition verdict, it shows that concurrent training is, and belly fat is, there was a study here that showed that concurrent training led to greater abdominal belly fat loss. Aerobic training led to overall fat loss, but combining resistance training with cardio really whittled the middle. Try bodybuilding. This is me and Evan Posey, my friend, we came up with this idea, this concept of doing the 2 most intense modes of exercise for each of the aerobic and resistance training paradigms. So you have triathlon, which is probably the top of the heap in terms of aerobic intensity, and then you have bodybuilding, which is at the top of the heap in terms of resistance training, you know, intensity and focus. In 2011, we actually attempted a Guinness Book of World Records, which actually I've never heard of anyone actually achieving this. Unfortunately, they turned down the claim that we submitted for it. But basically, me and Evan, we competed in a bodybuilding show and a triathlon in less than 24 hours. The bodybuilding show was, I believe it started at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, and the triathlon, I believe it started at, the bodybuilding show started at 9 a.m. Saturday morning, the triathlon on Sunday morning, 8 a.m. So that was a little under 24 hours. Alright, so preventative functional, that's part of my training. I do a lot of yoga and stretching. So here's a little picture showing me doing some yoga. Love that shirt, by the way. Now my nutrition. Nutritarian vegan. This eliminates unhealthy vegan possibility. So you've heard of the term of unhealthy vegan. Being a nutritarian vegan eliminates that. Micro versus macronutrition. So macronutrition is calories, micronutrition is cofactors. So macros is just nothing more than the calories that come from protein, fats, and carbs. Micronutrition deals with cofactors, such as chlorophyll, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which come within the calories. So it's a more profound, in-depth analysis of the foods we eat, not just counting calories. We're making our calories count by considering the cofactors. And there's more research that needs to come out on those. We know about the calorie component, but I really think the nutrition research is way behind. They really should start studying the cofactors and perhaps considering adding some sort of recommended daily intake on those and whatnot. But quite frankly, I think that you can't go wrong eating foods that are nutrient dense anyway. I just think it's remarkable. All right, so here's a picture of my meals, so you can get a bit better picture. All right, this is carrot, parsnip, beet, kale pulp salad. That's just from my Huron juicer, and so instead of just throwing out the pulp, I actually can incorporate it as a meal. There's a blueberry butternut breakfast. It's one of Dr. Furman's recipes. Here's a kale, Brussels sprout, radicchio salad with raspberries, walnuts, dried apricots. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Red beans and rice topped with scallions, and orange salad. There's a mixed green salad, frozen blueberries, pumpkin seeds, blueberry-tofu dressing. The left, we got zucchini pasta with pea protein meat crumbles and pasta sauce, and this topped with some vegan cheese, right, Turkish lentil soup. Alright, so where did I get my protein? Right there. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It's less about the protein we consume, it's more about adequate caloric adequacy. It's about getting the amount of calories you need in a day and making sure you have a balanced diet and have variety. And if you lift weights, this question becomes less relevant and less significant. In fact, I don't really get asked this question that often, because when people see me, if they see me, they'll notice this guy doesn't look like he's protein deficient. Whey versus rice protein. Is whey the only way? There's a study right here, and again, you can look at the video description to see this study in its entirety. Basically, there's no differences in terms of muscle hypertrophy and so forth. Here's a little side-by-side comparison of what you get with whey and what you get with plant-based protein. Just straightforward. I mean, the plant protein, easier to digest. It's going to be less allergenic. It's more alkaline forming, and it's going to be free of antibiotics, growth hormones, and any potential trace steroids that may have made it through the processing. The bioavailability of plant protein. So the bioavailability of eggs and beef protein and amino score is really high, right? And we always talk about that being so beneficial. But I don't consume any of those, so let's see some proof in the plant pudding. Little spoof on the word, proof in the pudding. So that's me not eating any kind of dairy, meat, or anything like that. Again, I'm not a very huge guy, but you can certainly say I have a decent amount, a respectable amount of muscle, and my body mass index, I'm about 5'7", 5'7.5", and my weight's probably about 155, 160. So that really puts me up there in a body mass index, almost overweight. But being in single-digit body fat, you can tell that most of my weight is muscle. So that's another angle at looking at. So to me, it's not about just adding muscle. It's also about adding muscle and having a low or a optimal amount of body fat. Bigger is not always better. Anabolic equals only muscle. That's the problem. When we get anabolic, I believe in the systemic response of these signals. And I believe that when you try and get anabolic, like eating a lot of steaks and those kinds of things, your body's going to be in a growth mode, and it could grow anything. We're talking to the vanity issue of, you know, growing body fat just kind of overall, and into the potential possibility of cancer tissue as well. What I like about plant protein is it's anabolic, plus it has a low insulinogenic index. Has a low insulin index. It's low insulinogenic. So what that means is, all right. So as I was saying, with plant protein, you're going to get the muscle gain, but you're also going to get fat loss, and it's very health promoting. Now, I like to get most of my I like to get my plant protein primarily from whole foods. Every now and then I use plant proteins. I'm not a big fan on it because it is a processed product, regardless of how we look at it. And so, you know, with a lot of the recent research on protein intake and then the potential for, you know, health problems in the future, again, I get most of my protein from whole foods, unprocessed, plant-based whole foods, and then every now and again I use a plant-based protein powder, but I try and use it minimally. But that being said, even if you get plant protein from, let's say, natural sources like beans and nuts and seeds and tofu and those kinds of things, and even greens for that matter, even though it's not a high amount of protein absolute-wise, relatively speaking, we're looking at about 40 to 50% of the caloric content of greens. A lot of greens tends to be protein. Again, it's very low calorie, but the percentage of protein is high. So that being said, you're going to get a lot of health benefits, not just protein, but you're going to get health benefits of plant-based foods and whatnot. All right, so here's a picture right there. Bigger is not always better. Again, bigger is not always better. Okay, so that's it, guys. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them at this time, and I thank you for watching.